How you doing? This is Ivan from Bitesize Wisdom for Busy People, and I just want to thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time to check my channel out, and today I will continue to talk about ideas that can help us live a conscious life. That's the whole goal of my channel, is to give you some ideas and tools that you can use for your own self-development, that you can verify on your own and use for your life to become more conscious. Yesterday in my video, I spoke about being able to distinguish clearly between an external event and our internal states, and seeing how they are two independent things, and being able to see how they correspond to each other, and how at other times they don't correspond to each other, because all this helps us to gain self-knowledge. And one of the main tools that I always talk about is to use proper self-observation. And really quickly, I'll give you a little breakdown of that. Proper self-observation, because this is not how most people will typically understand it in the normal sense of observing something. This is using our attention in a very particular way. So in proper self-observation, we use our attention to learn to sense our body moment to moment, notice its movements. We learn to see our emotions real time. We see our thinking process, and we do it all in a way that we do not become identified to our observations. So this means being uncritical. This means not judging what we observe. It's like being on a mountaintop and you're just looking below and observing your body, your emotions, your instincts, your sensations, your thinking process, and you're just seeing it from a high vantage point. So you do not become identified, and you are not at that level. And this is important because this is how we gain self-knowledge. This is how we really come to know ourselves. Because if you just purely observe in your usual sense, you will distort what you observe, you will justify what you observe. So to properly self-observe, the first thing is that you need to locate yourself in time and space, which means just the sensation of your body, always being able to sense your body. Because what we're trying to do is to ground our attention in the body first. So once your attention is grounded in the body, then from there you can start to observe what's happening to you internally. And this is important because this is, by grounding our attention in our body first, this will help us to be more objective with our observations. And the more you practice this, because initially this is not new to us, it's going to take a lot of practice until this becomes a conscious habit. And once this becomes a conscious habit, you'll see that it will gain its own momentum as you go along in your journey. Like, I don't need to think about placing my attention in my body now. It's just there. I'm just always constantly aware of the sensation and feeling of my body, which means I'm always in the present. I always can sense my body, but it's become a thing that goes on by itself. And through self-observation, which is today's topic, is I want you to also notice that our inner state is one of disharmony. It's not a unity. This is a major thing that we need to see for ourselves. So why do we not have an inner unity within us? And this is because our inner world is composed of hundreds and hundreds of I's, what we say I to, what we take to be ourselves. So this just means distinct personalities or egos. But the problem is that most of us, we just, like if my name is Ivan, anything that I say I to within myself, I take it to be just one Ivan, one I. And this is what we need to realize, is that we are not one I. We are hundreds of I's. And this is what uncritical, genuine self-observation will help you to eventually see. Because as we are now, in my video yesterday, I talked about the events, how our life is composed of the events of our life, the constant flow of events, and also our internal states. So based on the events of our life, we will a specific I will come up and try to interact with the event. So what that means is that based on the events, our eyes are constantly changing, and you can see that through the various personas that we act with throughout our day. So depending on the events and the people that we're interacting with, you will have a unique, distinct voice talking through you. But if you are not aware, then you will not see this constant changing, and you will just take to whatever I is speaking for you in the moment. You will just think that that's just you, that never changes. So that's one of the greatest mistakes that we make, is to believe that we possess an unchanging, permanent I. And through genuine self-observation, we will see that this is not the case. And by slowly seeing this, we will slowly start to break the illusion that we are one, but that we are many. And this just reminds me of a very important story from the life of Jesus. In the Bible, we hear a story of where he comes across a man who they say is possessed by demons. And then the man said, Jesus asks him, "What's your name?" And he says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And this insight is very deep and applies to exactly what we're talking about right now. Because all the old teachings we need to understand from a psychological point of view. So here when he says, "My name is Legion, for we are many," that's exactly what I'm saying right now, that in our inner world, we are not one, we are a legion. We are hundreds and hundreds of eyes that we take ourselves to be. But our inner world is more like a house with no master. We have hundreds and hundreds of servants, but they are all pretending to be the master. Let me see, what else did I want to say? So that's the key point, is the key understanding is that we need to see that we are not one, we are many. And by seeing this is the only way for inner change. Through proper self-observation, uncritical, genuine self-observation is the only way that we will lead to real change from the self-knowledge that arises from our observations. Because that's the thing we have to realize, is that no one can observe for you. This is conscious work. Only you can observe yourself. No one can do it for you. So that's why we call it work. This is inner work that we need to do. So when you see that you're not one but many, this is when the real work will begin on changing your being. And your being your presence and your attention. So as you start to separate yourself from what we say is false, these things that speak in our name, and we clearly start to see that this is not I, you will start to draw out your sense of identity from them. And in doing that, you will be feeding your being, which means your attention and your presence will become stronger. And in doing that, as you become more aware and your presence and your attention become stronger, you will then be able to rise above all these different eyes. You'll be able to see them in operation in the moment. And by seeing it clearly, if you can see it, you don't need to be it. So when you see these various personalities, these psychic structures working within you, if you can see them clearly operating in the moment, then you can separate yourself from them and decide whether to not go along with what they're trying to make you think, feel, or say. So this is where you will start to become one. That reminds me also of The Matrix, one of my favorite movies. Like I mentioned earlier in that quote of Jesus, where he said, "My name is Legion, for we are many," And in The Matrix, if you've seen The Matrix, Agent Smith, that was his ability, was to, in the movie, you see thousands of Mr. Smiths, which represent all the different eyes, like I mentioned. So this is all very important, this is about genuine inner work, because, people think that when they are thinking, it is himself thinking, But like I said, it's all these various different eyes depending on the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So our thoughts are essentially random. Where do our thoughts come from? All the hundreds of eyes that we have. So they're essentially random in nature, but all the time we are saying I to them. And that's the thing, is that whatever you say I to will speak and think and feel for you. So you need to become aware of these things so that you will start to really have power over this, and you will be able to really grow your being and become conscious. Because that's the thing we have to realize, is that what we are not aware of, we do not have any power over. So if you are not aware of all these various eyes that live within you, you won't have any control over them. And this explains why many people regret doing things in their past, because in reality it was one part of themselves that maybe they were unconscious of, but in that moment acted for them, and now they got to pay for it. So this is why it's so incredibly important for us to learn to distinguish what is false and what is real within us. And our being is what's real. So we need to start to learn to act from essence. And as the more, and on our journey, as we go along, our being will get stronger and we'll be acting more from essence. And like I said, you will be able to rise above all of these things so that you will slowly start to dissolve all these various eyes and become more integrated and become more of a unity, and your being will start to become more in harmony. I know that's a lot to take in, guys, but these are all very deep ideas if you contemplate them. So I hope you find my content useful, and if this is your first time visiting, please subscribe so that you will know when I upload new content. So hit that notification bell, and please share my content with anyone who will find it useful. And what else did I want to say? I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world, and please stay tuned, because I will be uploading a lot more content frequently, and they will all build on the ideas that I constantly repeat, because these are ideas that are the foundation to real interchange. So you can't repeat them enough, because our old ways of thinking, our old habits, have formed a hard structure around our essence, and those very things keep us from really understanding a lot of these deep esoteric ideas. So that's why repetition is key, because eventually one day you may see things in a new light, and you'll constantly be getting and updating the ideas you have about yourself and about this knowledge that I will be sharing. All right, guys, so take care. Peace.